World Cup while I was sitting at Taco City eating some tacos and queso, and yeah, now I'm here recording with you. So it can't be that bad of a weekend, right?
I don't know. I haven't had a day off in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I'm sure when you do the math, it'll come out pretty even when you retire in a couple years, and the rest of us are working the next 20, 30 years.
You know, I got to tell you, I don't know if I actually said this on the show, but I'm less than a year away from my retirement.
You've absolutely said that on the show. Not that exact number, but you have updated people with how soon you can retire.
Yeah. So, oh, well, you know what? I take that back because I did say it was less than a year because we gave yield shit for thinking there's 365 degrees in the circle. Anyway, I have found that the more days I work this year, the more days I don't want to work this year. I'm ready to be done.
No, man, see, here's the thing. Whenever they offer overtime at work, I'll take it because I don't know. I don't mind going to work. The last thing I want to do is just sit at home and play video games 24/7. I can't stand doing that. So I actually like going to work, having other things to do, and then coming home and enjoying some games. I like, living a full life, so to speak. So, and especially with, vet visits and, HVAC repairs and like my car insurance was just due. Like, I mean, I worked enough overtime to basically pay with that extra money for my car insurance payment. So like, why not? Like, what else am I going to be doing?
How much is your insurance that you have to work overtime for it?
My car insurance?
Yeah.
I pay about $1,200 a year. So I pay every 6 months. So it's about 600 something a month, or every 6 months.
So you're paying $100 a month, and you're complaining?
Well, I mean, I don't have to work the overtime. I can afford it, but if I can work the extra time to basically negate the cost of that, like, why wouldn't I?
You know how much my car insurance is?
You live in fucking New York.
Yeah, $323.
Okay, you choose to live in New York. That's your fault.
It has nothing to do with it. It's still expensive as shit. Anyway,
but it depends on your car insurance. Depends on where you live. Like my car insurance, I can not get in a wreck, and my car insurance will sometimes go up because it depends on where you live and what the other people around you do.
That is true, but
so your rates are higher because you live in New York, and I guarantee that there are more car wrecks in New York because of the amount of people that are there and the amount of traffic that's just there.
Yeah, but I also have a 50-mile round trip to work every day. So.
Yeah. So again, so what do you? Also, they've seen how you drive a garbage truck, so I'm sure they up your rates because of that.
Well, what I do in the garbage truck does not affect my car insurance. That's on the job. Second of all,
to be fair, that's good because if it did affect your car insurance, it'd be like
I'm one of the safest drivers of garbage trucks in Manhattan than anybody else I know. Everybody has their problems, but there's a lot of people that like to jump in front of garbage trucks for their payday. We'll just say that.
Tricky, real quick, my audio is slowing up. What is yours currently count at?
630.
Okay, I'm behind a little bit.
It's fine. You're on your own track this week, so I have you as a backup. All right. So, yeah. So I worked days yesterday, and then I had to go in at midnight last night. Got off at 8 o'clock this morning, woke up, and now I'm recording with you. And then I got to go back to sleep because I got to go back to work tomorrow morning. All right. So let's do our updated trophy count as I try to bring the agenda up because I lost it. I am level 988, total trophies of 35,974 with 1,048 plats. Alex?
Did you send me the agenda? Because I don't have it. The last one I have is for 7/12.
You know what? I didn't do the agenda, but I will look to see. And yes, it was sent to you.
I'm refreshing and I'm not getting it. Could you send it to me real quick?
I sent it to you again. While we're waiting for that, yield is level 547, total trophies of 12,068 with 231 plats. Matt is level 224 with 1,000 395 trophies and 0 plats. And Sid is level 902, total trophies of 28,168 with 869 plats.
You mind reading mine off because I still don't have it. So
Alex is level 537, total trophies of 11,413 with 213 platinums.
in 212 games.
I figured you were going to do that. That's why I paused.
Well, you left the door open for me, so I'll take it.
Well, I'm actually respectful of, time.
No, you aren't. How many times have you let shows run long as fuck?
Because the fans want it. I'm giving the fans what they want.
Well, after your last couple speeches, your diatribes on the physical versus digital, I don't necessarily know if you're giving the fans what they want.
Yeah, well, I'll just tell you this: the topic that got you and Will going at it yesterday, it's in the agenda. I put it in here because I figured we're gonna talk about this.
To be fair, I think I've been pretty moderate, more towards neutral on the whole physical versus digital thing.
Well, we'll get to it. All right. We don't have a trophies this week, but we do have a rarity update. Because Yield is not here, I sent him to Zimbabwe to go rescue Matt, because apparently Matt got lost in Zimbabwe.
Yield will fit right in.
Your rarity update. The second week of the rarity with the top 3 in Division 1 all maintain their positions from the opening period. Bigots leads the way for consecutive weeks. He added 67 points this week, taking his total to 203. Nitro had the joint highest score in the division with 70, along with Shoddy Sniper 123. This has helped him maintain second and close the gap to GOAT to 12 points as he sits on 191. Yield and Shoddy are separated by just 5 points. Yield stays third with 128, following his 57-point increase, while Shoddy moves us up a spot from 5th to 4th on 123. EDJ is the only other person in triple digits at this early stage, with his score of 41, moved him to 108 and in 5th place. Psychiatrist and Doc Chicken are separated by a single point. Sai is in 6th on 83, thanks to an added 33 points this week. Chicken is on 82 with a score of 41 this week. 8th place Gaz and 9th place Marky Fraser are also separated by just a point 2, 74 and 73, which each of them scoring 33 and 29 points respectively. Pee-wee remains a place outside the drop zone on 45, having extended the gap between herself and the bottom 2 with 16 points. The bottom 2 both scored the same 6 points and are actually separated by 6 points. Roll on the floor is with 27, and Ilfred Hellfire is on 21. Division 2. Last week's leader, Red Beer Rick, went trophyless this week and saw him score 0 points and drop from 4th spot to 121 points. Overtaking Rick into the promotion spots was Affectia Stonk and to claim first place on 150 points, having top scored within the division with 77. His lead is only 4 points from California Wayne, who has a total of 146, following a 44-point increase in the second week. Not too far behind in third is Ray's Havoc, who scored impressive again with 64, taking his tally to 135. Like Division 1, there are 5 contestants who are above the 100-point mark, and the 5th of them in the division is Mr. TMT 84, who has 108 points thanks to his 55 points this week. Still in 6th is Grounded Gaber, whose 44 points moved him to 92. Not far behind Priestley, Dupes got his season up and running by moving off the foot of the table thanks to his extra 64 points and now 7th on 69 points. Crook 09 is 8th on 65 with a score of 31, contributing to that. Murray 2011 is 9th on 41 points, has overtaken Tuki this week, who sits 1 place above the drop zone on 38 points thanks to its whole tally of 15. Dodge Williams drops to the foot of the table. His 7 points this week helped to his tally to 23. Still in the drop zone, but off the bottom is the Big Don, who gained 11 points, moving him to 27. Division 3. There are 2 new contestants occupying the top 2 spots. Shane Lizard roars to the top, following the second highest score in the division with 47. This moves him up to 126. Just anybody knows, Shane Lizard, he's that asshole from Australia Dex. Just so everybody knows. Desafet was the only contestant who bettered his score with 56 and moves up to second with 119. The top four are all closely contested. Duxie 14 drops to third place, but is only 8 points adrift from on 111. Resident Dell had a quieter week this time out, scoring 12 points, means he drops to fourth, but is still among the leading pack at 99 points. There's a significant drop to fifth place and below. The Brain stays fifth and extends his lead over the rest of the group. He earned 15 points, taking him to 28. Stink Palm is sixth with 14 points, thanks to a 4-point increase. That one Siegel drops from seventh. Having yet to get off the mark with any trophies this season, his legacy trophies did add an extra 2 points to move him to 13. Big Bernardo B moved off the bottom following a score of 15 to eradicate his negative point score and leave him with 10 overall in 8th place. Waterfields fell to 9th as he lost 3 points, reducing his score to 7. Dark Knight 82 is another contestant yet to get off the mark. He remains on 4 points, but legacy trophies failed to add any score to that. Kalai has 2 legacy points, giving her 3 overall in 11th, and falling to the bottom is Departed, who also added points and currently stands at 3. Your rarest trophies of the week were Foxy Stonk, with this thing is rigged in Grand Blue Fantasy Relink at 7.27. EDJ, Welcome to the Palace in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 at 4.4. Dazafet, Close Shave in GTA 5 with 3.25. Raise Havoc in Untouchable in Fury with 2.99. And rolling on the floor with Super Astro Bros in Pixel Junk Nom Nom Galaxy at 2.19. That's your rarity update. Alex, you seem to come alive this season a little bit.
I mean, I'm really just playing games I want to play. Although the last couple weeks, going back and getting some of those, cleaning up some of those trophies in Fury. Obviously, I got a couple ultra rares in that. I got some very rares and some rares. So some good scoring points from that game, because I think I had 14 total trophies in that game before I went back, and now I've doubled it because I got 13 trophies the second time around. So I've got 26 of the 34 trophies. So that definitely helped there. And when we get to what we've been playing, the game I've been playing recently, the DLC, of course, has quite a few very rare trophies in it as well. So that is definitely helping my score. Going back and cleaning up trophies is a great thing, because I've made a list now with the news that the PS3 store front is going to close here within the next year. I have made a list of old PS3 games that I want to go see if DLC is still available for, to see if I can get some of those trophies, because once the store closes, you don't got a chance. So I'm going to see if I can close the gap on some of those old PS3 games that I never went back and played.
Alrighty. Well, go ahead and go into what you're playing, because that's where we're at.
That's where we're at, huh? Okay, so after finishing off the my second round of Fury, getting some trophies in that, I have moved on to the Cult of the Lamb DLC, Woolhaven, which released this past January. And it's been a couple years since I played Cult of the Lamb. It was 2024, fall of 2024. And it's a really good game. I'm not a huge fan of roguelites, although, sometimes it just takes the right game, i.e. Saros, Returnal, and of course now Cult of the Lamb, all roguelites. And again, the game is a lot of fun. I did have the added advantage of not having to start from zero. I obviously had, I think with the Woolhaven DLC, you have to be most of the way through the game in order to access it. So I've already got a community built up with 20 plus followers. I've got resources like gold and food stores and like seeds and all this kind of stuff built up. So I'm doing pretty well from the start. So I kind of had that advantage. And so basically what this does is one of the main mechanics of it is it adds a wintertime mechanic. Obviously, it's not always winter. It's kind of a seasonal thing where you'll go through harsh blizzards. As you get further into the story, the blizzards intensify, winter gets harsher, and it eventually includes lightning, which can kill off, your cult members in one strike. So it definitely adds some new stuff. The winter mechanics, you have to, use furnaces and other things to keep your cult members warm. They've also added a kind of a livestock aspect to the game where you can buy, llamas and, you can buy goats, you can buy spiders, you can buy crabs, you can buy snails, and they all give you a different kind of currency, so to speak. Some of them give you gems, others give you rot burn, which is what fuels your furnaces to keep everybody warm during the winter, and others will give you wool, because the main focus of the DLC, the story, is on the lost lamb community of Woolhaven, where you are kind of resurrecting the town, bringing back and setting free old spirits, and it's all very lamb focused. And you obviously are, cult of the lamb. You are the lamb, so it's your kind, and basically, so one of the big currencies in this is wool. So you have to have things like the llamas and the goats and everything to shear them for their wool. So there is an aspect where you have to have livestock. They also have wolf attacks now, so where you have your livestock pens, you have to protect them, because sometimes wolves will come out of the woods and they will attack. They do have, not only can you basically bat away the wolves by hitting them, but you can also set up wolf traps, basically like bear traps, where you can kind of line them up and protect your livestock, so that it's not they're not just prey to these wolves. So there's the livestock aspect to it. You're not only tending to your cult members, but you're also tending to his livestock. You also have the winter cycles, and they had 2 new bosses, obviously new story elements to the game. And they, like I said, resurrecting Woolhaven, there's different side quests tied to each of the different buildings in Woolhaven. Again, the whole story is about you resurrecting this deserted, dead town and setting all the spirits free. So for me, I'm a big fan of the deals. I've always been a big fan of Cult of the Lamb. Again, the big aspects of it, you have the roguelike aspect of it, where it's like you're going out and doing crusades, where you're fighting through enemies, fighting bosses. But the other half is community building, where you're making sure your community of followers is happy and fed and under your control. So you're constantly doing sermons in your church or your temple, to keep them under the faith, so to speak. And so I've always enjoyed the game. Another chance to go back and earn some extra trophies and play through the game again about a year and a half later is nice. It's always nice when you have extra DLC, another reason to go back and give you a reason to play a game. So anyone who has never played Cult of the Lamb, I know some members of the community have played it because we've read off, or Sid read off platinum trophies, congratulating people on the platinums. But yeah, new things to do in the game. The DLC is $17. I have seen it on sale since it released, so if you're not wanting to pay the $17, just put it in your cart or put it on your wish list, and it'll notify you when it does go on sale. But it's a good amount of content. I think for the trophies, it's marked as about a 10-hour experience. But there are other things to do, like that side quest. There's a brand new mini game, which is kind of like rock paper scissors, that'll keep you occupied. So I mean, there's quite a bit to do in Cult of the Lamb, and even like just to kind of show you the own fun that I'm making in these games, because obviously in Subnautica Below Zero, I've continued to go back to that game just to check on my base and add to my base. But in Cult of the Lamb, I basically set myself with a goal. There's not a trophy for this, but I have now built a community where I like all of my followers, kind of like how people get with Animal Crossing, where they have a certain group of people, like animals they like, and they like to keep them on their island for as long as they can or forever. And they have this item in the game called a gold skull necklace, which basically gives your followers eternal life, because over time they age, they get older, and they die of natural causes. But with this necklace, you can keep them around forever. So that has become a goal of mine in the game, is to basically put a necklace on all of my followers, keep them alive forever. So yeah, just kind of shows just how you can make your own fun of the game. But I mean, overall, they add nice new mechanics. If you hate the winter stuff, if you're like, man, I'm tired of dealing with winter after the story's done, you do get a power that unlocks that allows you to turn the cycle off. So if you're worried about your followers dying by lightning strike, you can definitely, once you finish the story, you can gain a power to turn off winter or turn it back on whenever you want. So there is that. But yeah, Cult of the Lamb, really good game, a great roguelike. And so like me, if you're not a huge fan of roguelikes, it's an example of one you might be able to get into. So yeah, for me, it's just been Cult of the Lamb, the Woolhaven DLC.
All right, and I have been playing Assassin's Creed Rogue, and I just realized I haven't played The Division all week. Oh, shit. I haven't played The Division at all this week. I did get my...
Well, I mean, have you missed out on anything
I don't
by
even
not
know.
playing it?
I don't even know. I just been so Assassin's Creed Rogue, it just dawned on me that I didn't play it. I might have to pop that on tomorrow before the reset, and hopefully I can
Yeah,
get
but
everything done.
if you didn't miss anything, why does it matter?
Well, I got to see if I did miss anything. I do know that they teased a sandstorm coming, but that hasn't been released yet, because otherwise that would have been all over the news. So, and apparently the new incursion is coming sometime this season, so I'm sure they'll do the update at the same time. But yeah, the only thing I've been doing is Assassin's Creed Rogue, and I gotta tell you, I'm getting a little annoyed with the game. You have to, one of the trophies is you have to visit every location, which is not a big deal. You can just sail to place.
I'm pretty sure Rogue also had that trophy.
That's what I'm talking about is Rogue.
Oh, I thought you said Black Flag.
No, I haven't even started Black Flag because I'm gonna.
You had started Black Flag because you talked about it last week. You had started it then.
Well, I started it enough to get to one trophy, so my trophy card could pop up. But no, I haven't really played Resynced. I'm gonna, when I do start it, I'm gonna actually restart the game entirely because I just ran to get the first trophy. But Rogue, you have to visit every location, and it's not a big deal, but it's weird because you have, like, collectible hunting in Assassin's Creed games never really bothered me because you always just on one big map, you just run from location to location to location.
Well, no, let's be honest. Like, some of the collecting absolutely was aggravating. Like the first game, the flags, which got you nothing.
Well, okay, let me rephrase. Going collectible hunting is not frustrating. The collectibles, like the shanties, can be annoying. The flag's the same thing. But in this game so far, the shanties, knock on wood, haven't given me too much trouble. Like, I've only missed one, but that was because I was actually doing something else and didn't realize I was near a shanty and it flew off. But when I went back and got it, it was fine. This one, it's weird because you go to locations and there's a lot of mountains, a lot of hills and stuff like that, and I'm literally 5 feet away from, a treasure chest, and I can't get to it because the entrance is actually like 200 meters away on the other side of the mountain. So it's frustrating in that aspect. But I'm almost done. I've collected all of them in New York. I collected all of them in, I can't think of the name. Anyway, one of the locations. I'm down to my last map where I'm just sailing from place to place. But I think I might have screwed myself out of one of the trophies. Hopefully I find another place for it. There's a trophy in the game, and I'm looking up the name of it right now. It's called Denied, which you have to counter 15 air surprise attacks. And there's one place to farm it, but it's outside of a gang headquarters, and I've already gotten all the gang headquarters, so they don't spawn there anymore. So basically what it is they have these enemies, for lack of better terms, that attack you, and you'll know it in the game if one's close.
Is it the one where they jump out of the bushes, or the one where they jump off the buildings?
Both of them. This is the bushes, but this is the one I have to stop them from jumping off the buildings. But you'll know it because you'll go and then you'll hear whispers, and then you turn on Assassin's View, and it gives you like a little mini map of like what direction they're in, and you can actually see them. But I gotta find a location where they're gonna jump off me and just let it keep spawning and killing me. So I shouldn't be that far off of it because I've done quite a few of them already. But I gotta do 15, which is not that bad. But I gotta find a location where they're gonna keep doing it. There's only 4 trophies in this game that I'm kind of worried about, and that's the ones where you have to play with a cheat active. One's called Hunt the Hunted. You have to sink 10 ships in the North Atlantic without dying while the cheat's active. And you can only have that cheat active, so you can't like do the invincibility one. There's another one called I Endure, which you have to sink 10 ships in the North Atlantic without dying while that's on. Supplier, you have to take over 10 large supply camps while the veterans cheat's active, and killer machines kill 30 guards without dying while the endurance cheat's active. And like the endurance is you don't heal at all. So you have to kill 30 guards without dying, basically. Which is not that big of a deal, but you got to be really good about what you're doing. Yeah, that's all I'm really worried about. The other ones, I got to do the legendary battles, but like I said, I can turn the cheats on for that one. I got to destroy 100 icebergs, which is not that big of a deal. So yeah, it's just slowly going through this. I'll get there, but it's gonna take me a little while. And then actually, I'm not even gonna play Black Flag next. I'm actually gonna start playing Freedom Cry and get that platinum. I'm going to knock out all the DLC Assassin's Creeds before I go into the main story ones.
You're going to do a thing where you just roll through Assassin's Creed one by one by one. You're going to do what Nitro tried to do a few years ago.
Oh, I told you. Like, my goal right now, since I'm big on the Assassin's Creed games, is I'm going to try to platinum every Assassin's Creed games. And there's 34.
Dude, that's going to be fucking terrible.
You're
going to hate yourself by, like, the third game.
Oh, this is my third game. I did.
Yeah, but how much can the gameplay change? You're like still doing a lot of the same shit. Like, do you really want to do that for the next year or however long?
Sure. I did Syndicate. I did what's the one with Aveline? I can't think of the name of it now. Liberation. Did that one. I just did Assassin's Creed 3. I'm playing Rogue now. I'm going to move on to Freedom Cry. Then I'm going to do go back and play the SEO collection, and then I'll move on to Black Flag. And then I got to go back and get the DLC in Odyssey, Valhalla, Mirage, and Shadows.
Godspeed. I will say that one of the Assassin's Creed games for the PS3 that I have looked at is Brotherhood, because there's a Da Vinci DLC or Da Vinci Disappearance DLC that I never got trophies for, and I got to go back and see if that's still available on the PS3 store.
I'm sure it is. I mean, you could always get the
it might be, it might not be.
You could always get the 4 version of it and just play through Brotherhood again.
Well, I don't want to do that. I mean, does it still have the multiplayer trophies? Because I don't want to deal with that if it still has the multiplayer trophies. I don't want to deal with that because the servers might be off and then I can't get those trophies. So
no, I just the 4 version does not. One, I think the 4 version, their servers are actually up, and 2, I'm looking right now. I don't see any deals or multiplayer trophies.
Yeah, but that doesn't help me get the missing trophies. My goal is not to replay Brotherhood. My goal is to get the missing trophies that I have in the PS3 to close the gap to 100%. So
yeah, actually, you know what? I take that back. These might actually be DLC trophies. Hold on.
Well, fuck no. Well, no, I mean multiplayer trophies.
Yeah, multiplayer. Yes. So Brotherhood on the 4 does have multiplayer trophies, but those servers are still up. The 3 versions, the one's down. All right.
Well, I basically have about 1,025 unearned trophies over my course of my lifetime playing on PlayStation, and my goal is to get it under 1,000. So really, chipping away little by little. Or if there's like one particular game, like there are some games where I have easily 25 missing trophies. If I could just take out one of those games, or get some of the trophies in those games, I'll easily be able to get it under 1,000. But that's the goal. So I don't want to add another thing to my list by just playing the PS4 version.
Yeah, you want to take a guess at how many unearned trophies I have?
32,000.
Not that bad. 20,800. But
still 5 digits.
But also, let's be real about something here. You have played 300 games. I played 1,800 games.
Well, that's true, but that's also because, games in quotation, because a lot of those games are just like you play them for a minute and you're done.
I've gotten 1,051 completed games. So I've completed more games than you have played. All right, let's get into our topics here. First one, PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium games that are coming out. For Extra, you're going to get Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which I heard was actually pretty good. And that's also made by Massive, who also made The Division. You're going to get Rise of the Ronin, Firefighter Simulator Ignite, and I don't know why, but Matt put boo. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Readers Rewind, Dying Light, Citizen Sleeper 2, and Snow Bros Wonderland. And if you have premium, you get PsyOps, The Mindgate Conspiracy, and Indigo Prophecy. Any of those games excite you there, Mr. Alex?
Indigo Prophecy. Who was that made by? That was made by the people who did Heavy Rain, right?
Why? I'm looking up. I think you're thinking of Fahrenheit, but I might be wrong. Hold on. Indigo Prophecy was made by Quantic Dream. You are right, and they also it's called Fahrenheit. So same game. Yes, Quantic Dream.
So wait, this is the. Sorry, I never got the agenda. Is this for extra or premium?
This is for premium. This is the PS2 version of it, because that's the only version.
I mean, I think that's a pretty decent ad, but I mean, given the fact that the offerings from premium have been pretty sparse, that they about owed us one. So could you read me that list of games? Because really, the only one that caught my attention was Indigo Prophecy.
Okay, I'm sending you a link on Messenger to the agenda. Maybe you can get it in that way. The games again were for premium, you get PsyOps, The Mindgate Conspiracy, and Indigo Prophecy. And for extra, you get Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Rise of the Ronin, Firefighter Simulator Ignite, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Readers Rewind, Dying Light, Citizen Sleeper 2, and Snow Bros Wonderland.
Well, I've already played Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Readers Rewind, got the platinum trophy in that. Never played Dying Light, not particularly interested in that. Not saying it's a bad game, just not really particularly interested in it. Rise of the Ronin might be a sleeper hit, although I played Ghost of Yotei recently, so I don't necessarily know that I would want to play that. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, that's a big Ubisoft game there. Again, Avatar is not necessarily my thing. I've really only seen one of the movies, so I could really care less. But simulator game, Firefighter Simulator, Ignite. I have never played any of the simulator games because why do I want to simulate mowing a lawn or doing a job when I could just go outside and mow my lawn, or I could go do the job? That's like me working at a grocery and playing Grocery Simulator. I don't understand it.
Rise of the Ronin is
if I had premium, Indigo Prophecy would probably be an immediate yes for me.
Rise of the Ronin is a 3 out of 10 in difficulty, but it takes 40 to 60 hours to platinum.
That's about the same time it would be to do like Horizon or Ghost of Yotei / Ghost of Tsushima. And I will say, one of the things that disappoints me, Power Rangers, they never released DLC for it. At least that I'm aware of. Never had any trophies, never had any DLC, so I don't know how successful that game was, but with the Power Rangers IP, the game itself was fine. It's not one of the best beat 'em ups I've ever played, like you would kind of hope. But they had so much room to add more characters in, more bosses, more levels, and they just never did. That's kind of disappointing.
I mean, what other bosses would you want? Like, all the bosses, they're basically generic bosses.
Dude, there's so many of the bosses you could throw in there from, like, Guy's kind of in there already, but like King Sphinx or Shell Shock. I can't remember what the mole's name is, but there's like so many bosses and so many monsters just from the first 2 seasons alone of Power Rangers. Like each episode had its own boss at the end.
That's what I'm saying. They're just generic bosses. Like it's nothing. There's no story behind them. There's just a generic boss that came out.
There's no generic. There's nothing generic about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers bosses. I'll tell you that much. Pudgy Pig. We get some Pudgy Pig in there. I know we had Chunky Chicken and Turkey Jerk, but can we get some Pudgy Pig in there? No, there's so much more you could have done with that game. I will say that game was rather disappointing what they could have done with it. And I feel like you look at what Tribute Games did with Ninja Turtles and Shredder's Revenge, and you kind of would hope for the same kind of love and the same kind of like gusto put behind Power Rangers, and it just never was. It's just kind of disappointing.
Did you get you get the 4 and the 5 version of Power Rangers? So if you want to go back to it again, you could.
I mean, yeah, but also some of the boss fights you had to like not take damage. Like the Green Ranger, you couldn't take damage fighting it. So there were some annoying trophies in there that, it was a service will beat them up. Would I want to play it again? Probably not.
Okay, well, I'm just throwing it out there for you, sir.
I mean, if I'm going to play a beat 'em up, I'm just going to wait for He-Man to come out, the Dragon Pearl Destruction, whenever that comes out this summer, or buy the Jay and buy Silent Bob one, see how good that is.
All right, moving on. Bethesda, despite the recent Xbox layoffs, Bethesda has made a couple announcements continue working on Starfield, as well as remasters of Fallout 3 and New Vegas, while pre-production has begun on Fallout 5, which includes help from Obsidian. This article is coming from Bethesda.net. So, yeah, there you go. More Bethesda news for you. I don't know if we need remasters of Fallout 3 in New Vegas, but that's me.
I mean, no, we don't need a remaster of Fallout 3. We need a remake of Fallout 3. That's one of those games that's been long enough where you could do a remake and it's totally serviceable, but I don't know, a remaster, just making a game look better, where if you really want to make a game look better, you'll build it from the ground up in a remake. You will not do a remaster, but, we can't always get what we want. But no, I mean, going back to Fallout 3, which I think is, people can correct if I'm wrong, I would think the best Fallout, or the one that most people seem to enjoy, is, I don't know, give it the love it deserves, unless Xbox just won't give you the money to do it, which may be the case.
Our next article is coming from levelup.com. I've never heard of this website, so take this with a grain of salt. But considering that Matt put this in the agenda, I'm assuming it's a credible source. I cannot read the author's name, so I'm not even going to try. Mexican lawmakers file an antitrust complaint against PlayStation and Sony over the PlayStation Store following the potential end of physical games. The lawsuit asks regulators to consider whether Sony is trying to become the sole distributor of games on its platform. The file also expresses concern over digital ownership. Matt left a note saying here, while I appreciate some are taking the fight to Sony, I'm not sure how far this will go if they continue to sell boxes with codes in retailers. We see these lawsuits all the time. Matt makes a joke all the time that, it's a class action suit. You're going to get your 3 cents back. Do you think anybody has really a leg to stand on? Because a lot of the argument with this, Alex, is that by Sony removing physical disc, they're creating a monopoly which they can control the price. Now, I'm giving Sony the benefit of the doubt here. This is not me being a Sony apologist or defending Sony. Sony really hasn't shown in any way, shape, or form that they step out and are going to price gouge us. So, I don't understand the uproar with this.
Well, I think some people, like I brought up before, would point to certain games being, you could go to a store and find a disc and it'd be cheaper, but that's, again, that's not like at every retailer thing. That's just some retailers can, hold promos or put things in clearance. So it's kind of a store-by-store kind of thing. But, I think it's not about getting money back. I think what this is about is all these lawsuits hoping to push back on Sony and get them to rescind their decision. And I think that's what people are looking for. But also, Sony can't control when Ubisoft publishes a game on the PlayStation Network, or EA does, or whomever. Sony doesn't decide the price of that, right? It's the publishers.
No, I think Sony does.
Sony tells them what they can price their own games at?
No. They can... Okay. I don't have an actual proof of this, but what I would assume is, Sony's acting like the Best Buy in this situation. Sony buys the game from Ubisoft, and then they sell it for whatever they want to sell it for. That's my understanding of the way it works.
Do they buy it from Ubisoft, or they just charge Ubisoft to host it on their servers and then take a cut of the final sale? You know what?
I've actually heard it both ways. That what happens is, what I've heard is that Sony buys the rights to sell the game. They pay for the rights, and then they sell for whatever they sell. Then I've also heard that, Ubisoft sells it, and then Sony takes a cut of each sale. So I've heard it both ways.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll have to see because I would not think that Sony sets the price of everything in the PlayStation Store. And it doesn't make any sense for them to, set game prices for third-party games if they do. And again, I don't think they do, but if Sony could name the price given MSRP for third-party games, then it wouldn't make any sense for them to charge more than Microsoft because Microsoft is, why wouldn't you just go play on Microsoft then or on the Xbox? Funny story also, I sent you this picture, sent this to the Trophy Horse chat, a picture of my local Target where the section where the clearance games and the Xbox games were is completely cleared out. There's not a thing on those shelves. And I don't know if they're just doing a reset, but if you've ever been at a Target, they don't reset shit very often, aside from like the seasonal aisles. So I don't know what's going on with that. But being able to actually buy physical games at retail might become a problem despite how much people want to do it. And that's just kind of something interesting I noticed when I went into Target today. I was kind of blown away by it. But Sony, I mean, if we're going to talk the argument where you can find games cheaper in stores as opposed to on Sony's servers, I mean, I don't know. Sony could argue, I guess, that it's at a single store and not all stores. It's like single stores do what they want after buying a game. But again, games are drying up at stores anyway, so who knows how much longer you'll be able to buy discs at stores anyway. So, I mean, again, the point of these lawsuits is to push back on Sony's decision and hopefully get them to rescind it. Whether they will be successful, I don't know, because I don't think Sony set the price of their own games, but do they set the price for every game on the PlayStation Store? No, probably not.
Well, Will's in the chat and says no, it's the publisher. So let me clarify what I just said because I want to make sure about this. I wondered because Sony has a PlayStation sale all the time. This is the Fart of the Week sale that's going on. And a lot of those games come from multi-developers. So just in my own brain, I went, it's got to be that Sony pays the publisher and the developer for the games because how could Sony coordinate that many developers and say, okay, we're going to let you do a sale on your game at this time? So to me, what I wondered, is it going to happen? And I reached out to somebody who gave me the answer because no, Sony pays the developer to put the game on there and then they sell it for whatever they sell it for. And that's why they're able to do the sales. Prior to that conversation, I've always understood that, Ubisoft or whoever puts their game on the PlayStation Network and then Sony takes a cut of it, which is what we hear all the time. We had the lawsuit with, Epic and about how Apple was taking 30% of the sales and all that other stuff. So I've heard it both ways. Will, I'm not saying you're wrong because I've heard it that way and that's the way I've heard it the most. But I was curious, like, how is Sony able to do all these sales with all these different developers and publishers? And that was the answer I got. So I don't know what is the actual truth. I could reach out to one of my contacts at Sony and see if they'll give me a straight answer, but I doubt they will.
There was a lawsuit against Sony about the game download cards in stores, right? Because people said that was a monopoly, or Sony attempting to exercise a monopoly by taking game download cards out of stores, correct?
Yeah, they were saying that Sony was controlling the price because, if Sony was selling, I don't know, God of War on the PlayStation Network for $60, but you can go to GameStop and buy the card for $30, they were saying that you're stopping, us from being able to get the game. Both are digital games, but you're stopping, customers from buying cheaper games. But that lawsuit went nowhere.
Yeah, no, didn't they favor in Sony? They rule in favor of Sony? But also, I don't know which stores are having game cards that sell God of War for $30.
I'm just throwing numbers out, but that was the thing is that like we talked about before, like GameStop, they buy their games from Sony or the developer, whatever, and then they sell for whatever they're going to sell it for. If GameStop wanted to turn around and say, oh, well, no, we paid, Ubisoft $30 for Black Flag, but no, we're going to sell it for $100 in our store. It's not going to go well for GameStop, but they could absolutely do that.
Also, thinking back on this, like you look at Grand Theft Auto and we kind of question Sony's, the level of insanity for announcing this when they did, given that it's more than a year out. They had time to let things simmer after the movies were removed. But if you were going to announce a discless console, or you were going to say that your company was foregoing doing discs for the future at a certain time, what's the one game you would want to use as a test case for that?
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. So, I mean, we'll see. Again, it'll be interesting because of different courts around the world. It'll be interesting to see how they interpret the law in regards to this news, because I think that, you know, what's happened in Brazil or Mexico or whatever might be different than it's interpreted in the US. So even if a court in Brazil is like, no, Sony, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, a court in the US might be like, no, Sony's fine. This is not a monopoly. So we'll have to see how that plays out across the world, but you'll continue to see, you know, suits pop up here and there. Whether it's successful, I don't know.
All right. Well, we could just transition right into this because we were just talking about GameStop. Coming from InsiderGaming.com, written by Mike Straw. GameStop CEO has come out and said in an interview to Bloomberg, Ryan Cohen said that the impact of their business model doesn't matter since software makes up for less than 12% of their business. He says games are irrelevant to the company's revenue. The focus on collectibles has driven the business for years, and he says everyone in the media wants GameStop to fail. No, everybody in the world wants GameStop to fail and knows it's going to fail.
Fuck GameStop. Again, if you are going to buy physical media, you're going to continue to buy physical media. Please do not support GameStop. There are plenty of avenues to do that, but fuck GameStop.
Will says that guy is high on coke all the time.
But also, have you walked into a GameStop lately?
I haven't been in GameStop in probably 5-6 years.
It's like in the one there's numerous around me, but there's one at the mall where they now have tables in there, and I don't know if that's to encourage people to come in and play games like card games and whatnot, or tabletop games. It's only a few tables. They're small square tables, so it's not that much room. Or I can't imagine it's just like, hey, sit and do what. So very clearly, they have transitioned away from so much of game sales and have been doing collectibles because they realize that this is one of those examples in the real world of how games are being sold now, right? If stores would not be getting rid of games if people were still buying as much physical media as they used to. And this is a problem for anybody who is like, or really any gamers, because the audience is split. I don't know what the exact percentages are, but for the people out there who have physical media and want to push back and keep physical media, the problem for you is that the gaming audience is split and you don't have support of a lot of people who buy games. Because a lot of people are just like, fuck it, whatever, I'll buy digital. You have an entire generation of young people who grew up thinking that subscription services and free-to-play games like Roblox and Fortnite are the way to go. And then you have a lot of adults who have transitioned from physical media to just digital. And so the gaming audience is split. So that's going to be one thing that hampers the whole fight against the end of physical, is that a lot of the companies in the world, like a lot of companies in games, want to get rid of disc. We know this. We've seen the push for digital, and I feel like there's a more united front on that end than there is on the consumer's end, where some people want to buy digital and some people want to buy physical. So that split right there is definitely going to hurt the pushback against Sony. But I mean, yeah, like GameStop, I have wanted GameStop to go out of business for a long time now. I think their business, they've been screwing gamers for how long now? So I can't stand GameStop. But yeah, you go into their stores and their game selection is like any retail option or any retail operation. It's just, you know, it's not the place to go. Everything has shrunk, and they've increased the size of everything else, from Pokemon cards to amiibos to plushes to action figures. Like, all of that stuff is on the rise and taking up more space in a store, and the games has shrunk.
Yep. All right. Next thing we got is from Reddit. So I put this in here. It goes, Marathon game director Joe Ziegler is leaving Bungie. That's it. That's the joke. Your game director is leaving.
Well, he's passing the torch to other people who have, you know, other leadership in Bungie to continue Marathon. But, you know, in his, I think was it on X? Matt shared this with us, but it might have been on X, where Ziegler had, you know, thanked the community. I'm just like, what community? Because Matt then shared a picture of Steam charts, and there's like 5,000 people playing Marathon. The thing about Marathon has always been that people who played the game gave it good marks. They enjoyed it. The problem is there's not a lot of people playing the game. So Sony and Bungie seem to be moving forward full steam ahead on this game, which doesn't have enough support to it. And it seems like they just... I get it. I get it. Can you imagine Sony announcing that Marathon is family after Firewalk and Concord and the disaster that was? Can you imagine them releasing Marathon and then having to come out and say, you know what, we're closing this game down too because it failed? Like, how much of a disaster would that be for Sony? So I understand why they're pushing this forward. The problem is that if you haven't gotten these players by now, new games coming out all the time, like you've done free weekends, like no, the audience isn't going to get bigger. No one cares. Like, it's just I log on nightly to Held, well, not nightly, but every now and again to Helldivers to see if they've released anything new or if there's anything new to do in the game. And in a game that I would say is 2.5 years old, that is past its prime, that needs to start winding down, that to me is offering nothing new for players. There's nothing to do with that game at this point. Has 10 times the amount of users that, just going off the Steam numbers, 9 to 10 times the amount of users that Marathon does. So I understand why Sony's not waving the white flag, but goddamn, it's about time to wave the white flag because you're not growing that game. That game is what it is.
I'm looking at right now in Steam charts. Marathon, their peak players was in March at 77,358. Right now, their peak players is 11,896. And as of an hour ago, only 4,800 people were playing the game on Steam.
And again, that does not count PlayStation numbers, but if there's that many people playing on Steam, you're not even going to double that on PlayStation.
No, I think you double it on PlayStation. I think more people are playing Marathon on the console than they are on Steam.
There's more PC users out there than there are PlayStations.
I agree, but I think for Marathon, I think probably more console players.
Why? Why would you assume that?
Because that's where the core of the audience is.
Why would you not think that if there's a bigger install base for PC players, that the audience would be bigger on PC?
I don't know how to...
Why do you think that PlayStation users have some kind of loyalty to Bungie or to Marathon?
Well, I don't think it's loyalty to Bungie or Marathon. I think that... I don't know how to articulate this.
Okay. But no, I mean...
I just me personally, I would think when it comes to, like... This is... I can't even say PlayStation exclusive. Like... I think when it comes to the PlayStation Studio games, even though I know Bungie's not a PlayStation Studio game,
It is. They don't list them, but they are, clearly.
They announced that they weren't, that they were still independent.
I don't give a shit what they announce. Look at the direction of the... Like, you got all this leadership leaving Bungie. If you... Again, they are owned by Sony. They're a PlayStation Studios company. Even if they don't want to be branded that way, that's what they fucking are at this point.
All right, anyway... I think that just the core of their games are always going to be on console.
Okay, well, so getting us away from the numbers, we can all agree this game is not going to grow. It is what it is.
I don't know, because you look at both Destinies. Both Destinies started off week 2, and they both grew strong.
But Destiny had... Bungie was in a much healthier place then, coming off of Halo. And Bungie also had, for Destiny 2, had like the Destiny like carryover. So Destiny got stronger, and then they had Destiny 2, and so obviously that audience is going to move to Destiny 2.
Yeah, but Destiny 2 actually started off weaker than Destiny 1.
Tricky. Again, they've done free weekends. I don't know what you think is going to bring more people to Destiny. What do you think is going to grow the audience of Destiny? Like, do you think people are just going to magically wake up and be like, you know what? Destiny's 2's dead.
You're talking about, you're saying what's going to bring people back to Marathon? I don't know, just more content. They got to keep working at it. Right now,
well,
it's not
monitor that. I think that you still have an audience that's pissed off that Bungie is essentially ending support for Destiny 2, so I don't see those people going over.
They gotta end support at some time.
I guess, maybe.
I think more people are just pissed off that they ended support for Destiny because they're moving on to Marathon. I get that aspect, but at some point they had to stop support for Destiny and move on. Like, I'm sitting here going, they're still supporting the like Massive is still supporting Division 1. It's gonna suck the day they shut down those servers, but at some point they gotta end those servers. Like, it's been 10 years already. So anyway,
we'll keep watching the numbers and we'll see if they grow any. But I think that game isn't going to grow at all.
I don't think it's gonna become like this overly popular game, but right now, by Sony's eyes, it's not a failure, but it's also not thriving.
Sony is dumb. And Sony's dumb.
It's not thriving, so.
Because that game is a failure. Let's call it what it is. There's all this turmoil at Bungie. How do you... And here's examples, because this is an extraction shooter, right?
Yes.
Other examples, Arc Raiders and Helldivers. They peaked early and have dropped ever since. Except for when Sony and Arrowhead released Helldivers on Xbox. There was infusion people then. But over time, people have just dropped off, and the game community has gotten smaller and smaller. That's what happens. You get your peak early, and it drops off. Same's going to happen to Marathon, although the peak was much smaller.
Well, they did have a spike when they started Season 2. So.
What was the spike? Did 100 extra people get on board that day?
No, hold on. Let's see. Okay, in March, their average players was 35,000. In April, it was 15,000, 15.8 thousand. In May, it was 8.2 thousand. And then in June, they went up 3,200 people. Average. Which was a gain of
3,200 people?
Which is...
God dang.
I'm not saying like this is astronomical.
Tricky within 2 consecutive months, like month after month, their player base like halved.
Well, it more than halved. But I'm not defending Marathon here. I'm not defending Bungie here. I'm just saying there is a spike when new content comes out. And you asked me the question, what's going to bring people back to Marathon or bring people to Marathon? It's going to be new content, which is clearly what happened.
That's a sad-ass spike. If it's 3,200 people, that's a sad spike.
It went up 40%.
That tells you the state of the game normally.
Anyway, moving on. Matt also left a note in here that Dead Space creator Glenn Schofield has announced his retirement. He says, thanks, EA. So. I don't know who that is. So.
You don't... like Lead Visceral Games. You don't know who Glenn Schofield is? Or Schofield?
The name does not ring a bell to me, sir.
Oh, I know who he is. And obviously, as a Dead Space fan, I have a lot of respect for Glenn as a game maker, because the Dead Space games were, phenomenal games. And yeah, it's sad what happened to them, and it's sad we only got the one remake, that we couldn't go further with that because EA. But I thought... Was he at Sledgehammer at Activision when... I thought he had gone to Sledgehammer and Activision, was working on Call of Duty.
He was the former CEO.
Did he end his career at EA, or did he was just thinking EA just because it was Dead Space that was published by EA?
I don't know. He was the former CEO of Sledgehammer.
Okay, so he did work at Activision.
He worked at Visual Games, Sledgehammer Games, and Striking Distance Studios. His notable work is Dead Space, Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare, and the Callisto Protocol.
Oh, the Callisto Protocol, that game that was supposed to be Dead Space-y, but didn't live up to the hype.
Yes.
Yeah, but Dead Space obviously is even if you just look at Dead Space, like, what a legacy.
All right. You know who I don't have respect for? Joseph Priestley.
Are you going to say Jason Schreier?
Nope. Joseph Priestley.
What do you have against people with J's in their name?
Social media,
I want this on the record. I offered Joe a spot on today's show, and he declined. So, I tried to be the bigger guy, and he said, no, I don't want to come on the show. So, that's all.
Well, maybe if I had asked, he would have been like, sure, Alex, I'd love to come on with you.
Yeah. So we have 2 questions. One's coming from Robert. Says, you should talk about the hatred indie devs are wrongfully getting for posting their trailers on the PlayStation YouTube channel. So if you're not aware of this, indie games are getting posted on PlayStation's YouTube channel, and a lot of people are leaving comments bashing the indie developer for continuing to put their game on PlayStation after Sony's decision to stop making physical media. I'm gonna say this
You
straight
mean
out.
a lot of indie studios that probably weren't going to release their games physically anyway?
Yes, I'm gonna
Even
say
before this announcement.
I'm gonna say this right off the bat. These indie devs have no bearing on their decision. They should not get any kind of hatred whatsoever. They, like Alex just pointed out, they were never releasing their games physically anyway, so it's not affecting them. These indie devs have nothing to do with it. Leave them the fuck alone.
It's really anything that's being posted on Sony's,
Yes.
channels now is getting hate and shit. I mean, look, man, you want to peacefully protest, like push back how you want to, but what do you think is, I'm going to say this and it's probably going to get some hate, but what do you think shitting on indie games is going to do? Like what going after indie developers, like it looks extra fucking pathetic. Like, what do you think that's going to do? Do you think that's going to reverse Sony's decision? No. Like, Jesus Christ.
What I'm loving is the fact that, like, you think, like, this indie dev is going to turn around and be like, oh, fuck Sony. I'm not going to... I spent years working on this game. I'm not releasing my game now because Sony did this. No. That indie dev... They're not going to screw up their lives because Sony made a decision. They, like Alex pointed out, they were never releasing their game physically anyway. They was always going digital. Let these guys live their lives.
Also, here's the thing. If you're sitting there and you're like one of the no disc, no buy people, and you're going on these posts for these indie developers and shitting on them, if you buy Grand Theft Auto 6 digitally, you're full of fucking shit.
Save it, because we're gonna get into that. We'll save that feeling, because Will also left a comment saying, "Why haven't y'all taken a unified stance of no disc, no buy? Some things are better than your personal playing preferences." Will, we're gonna answer your question in our topics of the week. All right. That being said, Alex is getting animated. We have to move on because he's gonna get going. Let's do our topic of the week.
Toe. Topic of the week. Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt.
Fuck you, Matt, indeed. All right. So, Alex, this is where I'm gonna let you off the leash and let you go. I posted an article in our Facebook group chat coming from comicbook.com. Now, that being said, I want to be clear. I'm not a fan of this website. I'm just simply reporting what they reported, and that's it. Coming from comicbook.com, written by Tyler Fisher, PlayStation 5 disc protest fails as a new PlayStation exclusive release quickly sells over 5 million copies. Now, this is coming from, like I said, comicbook.com. What they're referring to is Activision and Xbox have released Call of Duty Black Ops and Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. They are only digital releases, and comicbook.com is reporting that they both are sold 5 million copies. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Alex, and I don't know if we actually talked about this on the show, but there is a new beta UI out there. If you click on the link, and scroll down, you can actually see what I'm talking about, Alex. There, in the new beta, you can actually see what the top 10 games being played in your country is. And if you scroll down, the number 2 game being played right now is Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and below it says 5.25 million people are playing this game, which means obviously 5 million copies have been sold. Now, I don't know. I'm just being the devil's advocate here. I don't know how accurate these numbers are. We don't have sales numbers. We're just going on a picture of somebody's UI. Alex, I put this in our group chat. You and Will kind of got into it a little bit, going back and forth.
I mean, I didn't say we got into it. Like
I'm not saying like you
I
guys were.
suggested they change the name of their podcast because
I'm not trying to say you guys were yelling at each other, but there was a healthy debate. Is that fair to say?
well, you were also in on it. So was Matt.
Well, the only thing I really got into it because I'm not going to go and read all of this because it's way too long. But one of the comments Will says was, "This is such an ignorant claim to make. The PX6 will have to drop before the no disc, no buy effects are felt. This still exists. This is Sony propaganda. Comicbook.com is on the Sony payroll. That is clearly not true." Now, this is the part that I took exception with Will. He said Call of Duty, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto 6, Minecraft, etc. are all games for casuals. Guess how many new games they buy a year. Now, guess how many physical collectors buy a year. Until physical games aren't available, Sony isn't going to feel it. The PS6 will be Sony's Dreamcast. Alex, you responded by saying, so everyone who buys GTA digitally gets a pass? Nah. If you want to push back on the digital dominance, they need to stop buying digital now, which I agree with. You need to show Sony that you want the physical disc now before they phase them out, and then you can't get them, and then they're like, Sony, I want them back, and they're not going to bring them back. But Will says that people that buy those games are casual gamers. That's where I push back. I don't think that's true at all.
I mean, way too many people play GTA for that to be the case, but here is my stance on this. If they announce that they are going to stop disc production in 2028, after that announcement, if you buy any digital games, you have shown Sony that you're broken already. You cannot buy any games after that point. You can't be like, well, I'll wait until 2028 and then we'll take up these banners. No, take these banners up now. If you break for GTA, there's always going to be something you're going to break for. Every game you buy digitally helps their cause. It helps their argument. So if you're really that mad about physical being phased out, stop buying digital games. Like this doesn't just start in 2028 when discs are gone. It has to start now. Like, and if you do buy digital games continually, I can't take you seriously. Because you're like, oh, well, I'll still buy. No, buy only physical now, because if you're expecting me to believe that when 2028 hits and for the rest of your life, you're not going to buy any digital games when right now you're still buying digital games. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Stop buying digital games and only buy physical. If you really want to push back, because buying digital is just going to show Sony that you will continue to buy digital. I'm sorry,
Will says he's already stopped buying digitally.
Then Will is doing what he needs to be doing.
Yeah.
But anybody else out there, you don't get a pass for buying GTA digitally. You have to be able to, if you really want to push back, you have to be able to just pass on every game, including GTA. You can't just say, well, GTA, I'll make an exception. You can't do that. Like, you have to, it has to become like a desert out there. You have to buy physical, and if you really want to hit Sony in their coffers and their financials, the only way to do that is to just completely stop buying digital. Every digital purchase you make helps Sony.
And not to defend Rockstar here, because I said this on the show before. I don't think GTA going digital only has anything to do with Sony's decision. Honestly, I think GTA 6 is just way too massive to put on one disc. So they had to put it digitally.
They had multiple discs for Final Fantasy VII back in the day. They had many games with multiple discs. On the original PlayStation.
But that's different, because that wasn't.
Metal Gear Solid, one of your favorites, had multiple discs.
Again, that's different, because you were playing basically a linear game. GTA is extremely open world where you can do multiple things at any times. They're not going to want the gamers are not going to want to go for, well, I'm going to this part of the city, I have to change this. Oh, I'm going to this part of the city, I have to change my disc again. It had to be digitally in order for that game to run smoothly. That's my feeling.
I don't believe that. The storage capacity of discs these days is far greater than what it used to be back in the day. And I think if you're reading the tea leaves, if you're looking at the way that a lot of these companies are pushing, again, moving to $70 for games was kind of an industry-wide push. Yeah, like people like Ubisoft came out and kind of led the charge, but they all kind of moved to it, right? And so if you as an industry are trying to get people to accept digital games and, like Ubisoft said, being okay with not owning your games, the soldier you're going to send out there, like Brad Pitt and Troy in the first scene of that movie when they're off in a fight, like you're going to send your Brad Pitt out there. You're going to send fucking Grand Theft Auto because people are going to buy that game regardless of what the medium is, disc or no disc, and it's kind of like the test case. It's like, okay, you all need to accept digital. Here's the most popular game in the world. You know, I don't know how that compares to Minecraft. One of the two most popular games in the world. Go ahead and buy it. Like I don't think that the kind of the Sony announcement and the GTA announcement and that kind of their closeness together can be just thrown away. I think all these companies are pushing for a lack of physical games, and GTA is just out there, and it's kind of the front runner.
Just for the record, Minecraft sold 400 million copies. Grand Theft Auto 5, through all their versions, have sold 230 million copies.
Okay, so I mean, Minecraft is the most popular game in the world. Can you buy that digitally, or can you buy that physically?
I believe you can.
Okay, I wasn't sure. That's me asking for actual clarification. I wasn't sure.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
you can
but
buy.
Again, you're never going to convince me that Sony and the GTA announcements, especially with all the advertising that happened for Sony and GTA, kind of that marriage of kind of promo space there, that these two announcements weren't somehow connected.
Okay, so Will's still in the chat, says, now join in, guys. He's basically saying for us to stop buying digitally. Sorry, Will, you are talking to the wrong two guys on this show about buying physical.
Yeah, when I buy a Switch 2, I'm going to buy physical. I'm going to buy the carts because that's what I've always done. Switch 1, I bought all the carts, but I'm sorry, I'm not changing my buying habits to save discs. That's not the way I want to spend my money. I just don't want. I'm at the point in my life where I'm trying to get rid of shit. I don't want to be in my 60s and my 70s going through thousands, hundreds of discs. And it's just not the way. I'm not asking people to buy digitally to kill physical. So I'm not going to buy physical when I don't want to save discs because people want to collect them.
And he also he says Minecraft equals casual game. That I agree with. Minecraft is a casual game. And
400 million. And then 400 million sales, that's not all casuals. And my girlfriend's youngest son plays a ton of Minecraft, and he's not a casual gamer. So I'm sorry that
okay. Will also says exactly this is why y'all are wrong for not buying physically. Then he just said, I spit on my living room floor in your direction.
Do not tell me how to spend my money. You want to get me pissed off, Will? Tell me how to spend my money again.
All right.
Get buried with your discs. I don't give a fuck. Don't tell me how to spend my money.
All right. Calm down. All right. Moving on to our actual topic of the week, coming from Games Radar, written by Catherine Lewis. Former PlayStation boss thinks, quote, we've lost a lot of variety in the games, end quote, and we can now thank, quote, the rising cost, end quote, of new titles for that. And he said we have so many crazy games on the PlayStation 1. Sean Layden thinks we've lost a lot of game variety these days. He attributes to the ballooning cost of video game creation these days, with AAA games costing $300 million or more to make. He expressed concern that so many games just look like the next one on the shelf. It's either zombie apocalypse, space marine, or medieval guys with big swords. He's afraid that with today's environment, you won't see games like Pararapper the Rapper get made. And he complains that you get a looter shooter, extraction shooter, or hero shooter. Well, where's the next Katamari democracy? Or
democracy. Katamari Damacy.
Thank you. I don't know why I said democracy. So, Alex, I'll open the floor to you. Do you think there's enough variety in games?
Yes. It's a pretty simple, easy answer. I mean, just in what I have been playing this year, and let me just go back and look at some of the stuff I've been playing. But just me as a test case, like, let's see. So the games I've been playing just this year: Astrobot, Disney Epic Mickey, Subnautica, Ghost of Yotei, Mouse PI, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Went back and played Darksiders again, Ceros, Hellblade, Fury, Cult of the Lamb. None of those games are like. None of them. So I absolutely would say that there's plenty of diversity in games.
I mean, to give credit to what Charlene says, one of the criticisms that we gave on the show is that part of the reason the Sony's in the hole that they're in is because they went big on the games as a service. They the live service games. They greenlit 12 games. 6 of them were canceled eventually, and then I think another 3 or 4 of them failed horribly. So, and then we also talked about how many there's the Star Wars game coming out. You know, a couple we haven't heard about in a while. Probably not going to be. Probably not going to hear about Quantic Dreams Star Wars game for quite a while. Will says Sony has stopped taking the risk. I think a lot of companies have stopped taking the risk. They go for what's
all
moving.
the big ones. I mean, look at Xbox and Microsoft. I'm not saying that Sony's not, but you get rid of studios like Double Fine and you get rid of Ninja Theory and you give $400 million reportedly to Gears of War, and Bethesda's doing remasters of Fallout 3. All the big companies are doing that. Doesn't mean you're not seeing, variants and, chances being taken elsewhere, but that's been the story of like the last 20 years is indie games, and that's why indie games have gotten so much shine is because they're the ones who are doing a lot of the creativity. That's where it's kind of exploding.
Hold on. Matt just sent me a message saying there's a weird echo on the stream, so I'm just trying to find out the problem. Yeah, I mean, this is why, like, we had a lot of Battle Royales come out, because people see things that get successful, and then they're like, oh, well, that's working. Let's go make our own version of it. So, I mean, I don't know that I'd go to the lengths that Sean Layden is going and saying, there's not enough variety, but you do tend to follow the market trend sometimes. So
if you're just paying attention to the AAA developers, yeah, there's a lot of sequels, and there is a kind of safeness in
there's money.
Sequel.
There's money in the sequels. If this game was successful and you go and make the sequel to it, you pretty much know that as long as you don't stray from what made the first game so successful, your second game is going to make money.
I mean, not always, but the problem is that he has such a narrow view in my head of what gaming is because if you look at take a 30,000 foot view of gaming, there's all kinds of variety. If he's just talking about Sony and Microsoft, then yeah, I could kind of understand what he's saying. Nintendo has been knocked for years for not putting out any new games besides like Splatoon and ARMS, and only one of those 2 games was any good. But if you look at the rest of gaming and all the people making games, no, there is plenty of variety. So Sean Layden's one of those controversial figures where we know how he kind of left Sony, and
he was fired by Jim Ryan.
Well, wasn't he let out of the building?
I think that was the rumor yesterday. He was walked out the building.
Some of the stuff he says, you can, put some stock in and be like, yeah, that's, he has some expertise in this area. But this is kind of one of those things where you look and it's like not enough variety. We lost a variety. At the AAA level, sure. But gaming as a whole, no. So I don't know what to tell Sean Layden.
Well, Matt's in the chat. Matt, do you want to leave a comment? And I'll say it on the show. He's texting me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's ain't really much more we can say about this.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Layden has been very outgoing. He's been very outspoken in recent years. I feel like we hear from him more than we hear from any former Sony executive.
I gotta admit,
more than Kaz, more than Shuhei.
Don't forget about Jackie T.
Yeah, Jack Trenton. I don't know if people are always putting microphones in front of his face or he just got nothing else to do but talk. But I can't agree with him on this. And
you know who we need to hear from? Kevin Butler.
Who's that?
We need to hear.
I mean, I'm sure KB made so much money off of Sony back in the day. He's like Rick Moranis, which I know Rick Moranis is doing some stuff in Hollywood again, but he could kind of just roll right off into the sunset and just kind of enjoy his cabin. And I do actually have one. Are we at the end of this and we're going to head into
Yeah, we're
Shout
at
out. Maybe this is better saved for when Matt comes on, but if Matt is listening, maybe he can kind of push back. When I hear all this stuff about Sony's decision to get away from discs, I think back, and over the last week, I've thought a lot about this. Tricky, I don't know how familiar you are with a lot of the controversy that went on with Pokemon Sword and Shield back in the day.
none.
So it used to be that there was a place called Pokemon Bank. They now have Pokemon Home, where you can take Pokemon from certain games and put them in Home, and then put them in other games. Like, so say if you caught a Pokemon in like Pokemon Yellow and you got attached to that Pokemon and you wanted to carry it on in future games, you could do that. Bank.
I think I remember something about this. I don't know the details, but I think I heard something about this.
Pokemon Sword and Shield was, I believe, the first game where the Pokemon Company or Game Freak or whoever announced that they were not going to support every Pokemon in the game. And people flipped. There was a very loud group of people that went online and complained about it and talked about it, and it was kind of like there was a pushback.
Okay.
Well, Sword and Shield came out, and guess what happened?
Everybody bought it and played it.
Record sales. 26 million, I believe, at least 26 million in sales. And again, when you look at Pokemon games, they give you two versions of the game. Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, Ruby and Sapphire. So and the differences in these games is not like, a lot. It's like exclusive Pokemon in each, and exclusive legendary that you can only catch in this game. So I look at that and that whole dust up when people got really mad at Pokemon, the games have continued to sell. The support has still been there. After people were talking about boycotting Sword and Shield, that didn't happen. So I want everyone to think about that.
Almost 27 million copies.
Huh?
Almost 27 million copies, making the third best-selling game in the entire Pokemon franchise.
So I want people to think about that. Everyone was up in arms. We had this whole big hubbub online about it, and it didn't matter because the games continued to sell. So I'm not saying that's the exact same thing's going to happen here, but when I look at things like that, that makes me look at this situation and say, is the same thing going to happen here? You have a very passionate fan base in Pokemon. Pokemon's the number one IP in the world. Not the best-selling games, but the number one intellectual property because of all the other stuff that comes along with it, plushies and whatnot. And they have a very passionate fan base. And those people accepted the change and moved on. And I think of that, and I'm not saying it's going to happen again, carbon copy, but when this whole situation goes down with people being displeased with changes in the game industry, I definitely think back to stuff like that, to where there was this whole big thing at the start, and then everybody accepted it and everyone moved on, and there was nothing about it. This may be different, but I just want everyone to think about that.
You know what? I was just saying, I don't know if you're right about being the most important IP, but according to Wikipedia, it is.
Yeah, it's the most profitable.
Total revenue, $115 billion. Mickey Mouse is only at 61, so they've almost doubled.
Yeah, and again, a very passionate fan base that got used to something for years and years.
Do you know what the third most popular IP in the world is?
No.
I'll give you a clue. He likes honey and doesn't wear pants.
Tricky Mick?
Hey! No, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. That's surprising, but yeah. And I'll leave off with this one last message because I don't know if Will is joking, but don't try to bully people into changing their spending habits. If you want to buy physical, buy physical. If you want to buy digital, buy digital. Sorry, that comment kind of irks me, but I'm not going to tell Will how to spend his money or what medium to buy on. Please don't tell us.
No, listen, I'm going to defend Will here and say, I know Will is very passionate about buying physically, but I think he's breaking balls for breaking balls' sake.
Which is, we appreciate, the PlayStation Ain't Dead podcast, and we appreciate their passion for this. I just want to, again, with all the posts on all the PlayStation, post and the indie game post, buy the way you want to buy. You still want to buy physical, I'm totally cool with that. You want to buy digital because that's the way your life has gone, then do that. So.
All right, let's land the plane, Alex. Your shout out, sir.
I want to give a shout out to the community, the fans, the fuel to the fire of this trophy horse. You guys are awesome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining the conversation. We appreciate you all from Infinity and Beyond. Give a shout out to my co-host this week, Tricky, as well as Yield, who had company over for dinner, so he could not join us.
Wow.
Well, I guess,
Why
you know,
would you destroy the illusion?
well, I mean, dinner in Zimbabwe. He had they have a timeshare in Zimbabwe, so
God.
Matt must have been the dinner guest. That could be another person who meets Matt before. Well, I guess Yield's already met you, so that doesn't work the same. But Matt and Yield, shout out to them. Matt should be next week, right? Back next week, because the FIFA final was today. Spain won, so that should be the end of his extra duties.
Yep.
Yep. So shout out to Matt and Yield. Shout out to Will for his artwork and his passion for physical games. Shout out to the PlayStation Ain't Dead podcast. We'll give them a shout out here. Last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend, Ashley. I love you, hon. And yeah, that's going to be me for the week.
And I'll give a shout out to Matt and Yield for going to Zimbabwe to promote the show and eating Zimbabwe food, which I don't know what it's called. Is it just Zimbabwe food? I don't know.
Jesus Christ, Tricky.
I don't.
Why would your brain not stop you from opening your mouth if you don't know what they eat in other countries?
I don't know. Shout out to the listeners. Shout out to Will for all of our artwork. He's in the chat saying, gamers are spineless. Don't say support the cause and sleep with the enemy. I love you, Will.
If you...
No.
I'm gonna be with Will. I'm gonna say if you really want to push back on Sony, stop buying digital from now on out.
I agree.
Don't wait till 2028.
I agree. Shout out to all the listeners. Shout out to everybody. And if there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later, and have fun thinking of Tricky eating honey.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Z. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.